Alright guys, Night of the Samurai and Sebastian Hernandez almost ripped up the whole entire script because for me, this was always the dress rehearsal for Junto versus Naoya Inoue for the mid part of next year, and this close. It was this close to Nakatani fucking his end up of the deal, and Sebastian Hernandez, I think he's going to steal the headlines for the night because despite losing, the scorecards were 115, 113, 115, 113, 118, 110, which is just a terrible, terrible, terrible judging, like just fucking awful. And whoever that was is clearly incompetent at the worst. I've seen other words that I don't typically use, but words like corrupt and along that lineage, I think the word is incompetence and stupidity. But Sebastian Hernandez, we'll talk about Junto versus Hernandez, and then we'll talk about Inoue versus Picasso, and then we'll probably talk about them together because that is the main part of this video. And Sebastian Hernandez, I mean, I wouldn't have argued if you gave him the victory. I think 115, 113 is a fair reflection. I think 114, 114 is a fair reflection. I think 115, 113 the other way is a fair reflection. I don't think you could have any qualms if they came to any of those decisions. The problem is the 118, 110 because Sebastian Hernandez won well and truly more than 2 rounds, right? He won the best part of 5 or 6, 7, depending on how you scored it, because it is all subjective. But what's not subjective is that Hernandez didn't win just 2 rounds. He won plenty more than that. And if we talk about the fight, I mean, Junto started very strong, and I thought it's going to be a long night for Hernandez. And then all of a sudden, Hernandez switched into gear. He started with his activity, started on that front foot, started ripping to the body, started working Nakatani. And Nakatani, I think somebody's got all the ability. I mean, he's a rangy fighter. He's got a good jab. He can fight on the outside. He can move. And for whatever reason, he was caught up in brawling with a guy that wants to brawl with you, wants to make it a dogfight. And just look at these post-fight statistics. Punches thrown, Hernandez 921 to 837. The jabs 71 to 26. But that's the point. Junto is the better boxer. He's the person that should be using that jab, and he should have used that to win the fight more confidently, not get pulled into a brawl. And then 247 to 226 in power landed. Hernandez outlanding him in power shots. And you just look at Junto's eye, you look at the body language in the second half of that fight, it was all Hernandez. He was coming on strong. He was just the constant activity. Junto didn't know what to do with it. And you look at William Zepeda versus Shakur Stevenson, and you look at this fight, 2 similar sort of people. You'd compare Junto to Shakur Stevenson in terms of the boxing IQ and just all his ability in all facets of the fight. You know, we're talking attack, we're talking defense, we're talking movement, we're talking jab, we're talking power puncher, we're talking all the elements that makes a good all-around fighter. Junto has. Hernandez has one game plan, and that is to constantly throw, constantly walk you down like William Zepeda. And you saw a very different performance, what Nakatani did today and what Shakur did a few months ago against William Zepeda. And I think that was the difference maker. I would have thought Junto Nakatani, I know he likes to get into a brawl. I know he likes to do the uppercuts. I know he likes to slug it out, right? Because he trusts and backs himself. But he's also somebody that's come from 3 weight divisions lower where you don't have to worry about that power. Your eye's not going to explode like it did tonight because the power's not there. And he came up against someone that was very strong and had a very, very good gas tank, very, very good conditioning, like these Mexicans are. And I think he got caught out. I think he got complacent, and I think he showed a little bit of lack of experience in this weight division. And how much he learns from this is going to be very important because what's next is Inoue. And if we talk about Inoue versus Picasso, and then we're going to talk about Inoue versus Nakatani, Inoue beats Picasso 119 to 109, 120 to 108, 117, 111. And on paper, you gave Junto Nakatani the same chance you gave Inoue against their respective opponents. They were both heavy favorites. We're talking $1 to $9 each respectively. And you'd say stylistically match up everything. And you'd say these two have been given opponents that are of very similar ability, very similar experience, and got a very similar task that they were both expected to do. And Inoue thrived, and Junto Nakatani almost crumbled. in some people's books, did crumble. I saw many scorecards that said Sebastian Hernandez won that fight. In a way, he comes in against Picasso, and Inoue is the one on the front foot. He's the one hunting Picasso down. He's the one with the speed, the movement, the jab, the power punching, ripping to the body and taking the fight to Picasso, where for the second half of the Junto fight, I thought Hernandez was taking the fight to Nakatani, and I think that was the difference between the two fighters. In terms of Inoue, I mean, there's not much left to be said about him. I mean, he's the most all-round complete fighter you're going to find in the world. I mean, some fighters sacrifice speed for power, power for speed, power for movement, movement for power. This guy has it all. He will create angles, he will move all around the ring, and in the meantime, hit you with quick, powerful shots that you didn't even see coming. And today he did something very impressive that I thought really showed just how good he was, and that was ripping to the body, right? He could have very easily just spent all night hitting the high guard of Picasso, letting Picasso come onto him and try and counter-strike him. But he said, no, I'm going to get on the front foot. I'm going to work that body. And if and when that head opens up, I'll hit it. If not, I'll just keep ripping to the body. And that's all he did all night. And it must have been around 9, 10 rounds in. And Picasso's in his corner, telling his corner just how sore he is. And credit to Picasso. He stood in there, stood strong. Wasn't a lot of output from him. I was expecting more of what Sebastian Hernandez did. I thought the best part of Picasso's night was the last minute and a half of round 12 when they both just started trading, and I think that was off the back of Inoue wanting to get the knockout and Inoue also not worried about what's coming back because, yeah, Picasso landed a few shots here and there, but Inoue ate them up like they were nothing, and you compare that to what Sebastian Hernandez was hitting Junto with. I mean, look at the faces. Junto's face was destroyed. Inoue looked like he didn't even fight tonight. So going forward, it doesn't affect the saleability of this fight. Everybody's still going to want to see it. Both fighters won. It'll go ahead whenever it's going to happen next year. But I think the odds have changed massively. There's no chance the odds are going to be the same. If you did the odds last week and you do the odds this week, they'll be night and day. I think last week you're looking at two fighters that are even odds. This week you're putting Inoue a massive, massive favorite. And it's maybe not right to base it off this one fight, but you know, if you remove everything you know about these fighters, you just watch tonight's event and you say, if Junto was to fight Inoue, who wins? Everybody would say Inoue. And it was clear why, because Inoue put on a clinic tonight and Junto scraped through. And that's as simple as you can put it. Junto scraped through. I was surprised that they gave Picasso 117 to 111. I had it basically a shutout. I don't know what round they gave Picasso. You know, I have to look at the scorecards, but for me, I was like, he was never in that fight. He looked lost. Inoue was too quick, too powerful, kept moving. Picasso couldn't shut down the ring, wasn't on the front foot, didn't have the power to hurt Inoue, and Inoue had everything Picasso wished he had in that fight. And you compare that to Junto and Nakatani. I know they had two different opponents, and I think if you put Hernandez in the ring with Picasso, just based off tonight, Hernandez wins and wins convincingly because I saw a very, very good fighter in Hernandez and a lesser fighter in Picasso. But you still have to go out there and beat what's in front of you. And yes, they both did it, but they both did it very, very differently. And I think that lies in the key of what's next for these two guys because, you know, it's a big payday. It's a big opportunity for both fighters. And if I'm Inoue, I'm really, really confident. If I'm Junto Nakatani, I'm there thinking, am I ready for this? Am I really ready for this in this weight category against one of the greatest to ever do it in Inoue? And for me, I don't see a Junto that's ready for what he's going to be faced with for the mid part of next year. Hey, maybe he learns from this. Maybe Sebastian Hernandez is just that good. And David Picasso isn't anywhere near as good. That's the other part. We're not comparing two fighters against the same opponent. We're taking two fighters against two very different opponents and two fighters that are stylistically quite different. I don't put Inoue and Nakatani as the same build of fighter. And I don't put Hernandez and Picasso as the same build of fighter either. I think they're close. I think they come from the same school, but implement it differently. I expected to see Picasso do a lot of what Hernandez did tonight, and I didn't think Hernandez was going to do as well as what he did tonight. On paper, I had Picasso the better fighter. Obviously, there was limited research that I did for Hernandez. I couldn't find that much fight footage of him, 2 or 3 fights here and there. Picasso has a bit more to go off, but yeah, I think Junto going into this next fight against Inoue is going to have a huge monkey on his back, and it will be this fight and how it's looked upon. A bit like Terence Crawford did coming into that Canelo fight. You know, you looked at the Errol Spence fight, which was really, really good, but then you looked at the Madrimov fight, and that's where the questions arose. Obviously, it meant nothing in the end, but it's just another thing you've got to deal with, look upon, and go into the next fight. You're not going to go into it anywhere near as confident. And if there's one thing, Inoue is quicker and he's more powerful than Sebastian Hernandez. And we saw what Sebastian Hernandez was able to land on Junto tonight. So yeah, there's going to be question marks. This will be a massive talking point, and we're going to keep covering it all the way up to whenever that fight comes next year. But yeah, I've got a lot more questions than answers for Junto Nakatani. I mean, Inoue, I thought just put on a clinic. Perfect tonight, perfect against MJ Akhmadaliev. Not perfect against Cardenas, but I feel like that's the story of Inoue's career. It's like things only go bad for Inoue in a fight when he is so confident that he gets complacent, right? He does so well in a fight and then switches off because it is just too easy for him. And then you see that Cardenas fight, switches off, 2 rounds later, the fight's over. And that's just how good Inoue is. And unfortunately, if we go off tonight, Junto does not stand a chance. It doesn't just come down to tonight, but remove everything we know about him just tonight. You look at those 2 fighters, and they looked years apart. They did. They didn't look anywhere near close. And you got to give a lot of credit to Sebastian Hernandez, and you got to give a lot of credit to Inoue, because Inoue dealt with Picasso like an expert did, and Sebastian Hernandez showed just a whole lot of guts and heart and ability. Because Picasso showed heart, but he didn't show the ability. Hernandez showed it all. And the other results that we saw tonight was Reito Tsutsumi beating Leobardo Quintana, round 4 TKO, and Erickson Garcia upsetting Tiger Imanaga by a split decision. I thought Erickson Garcia was just very, very worth that money. And 8th round drops Imanaga, gets the 96, 93, 95, 94, 95, 94 split decision. And yeah, Imanaga, so youthful in his professional. I think that's the best word to create it. There's a lot of hype around him, but I think tonight you just saw that in terms of where he is in his professional career, he hasn't quite made it yet. The talent's there, the prospect's there, but the experience wasn't, and Erickson Garcia showed that. Anyway, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm out here, guys. See ya.